Hi, I'm Jerry Brainum. I'm here for the Generation Iron Fitness Network. In my first video, I introduced myself, gave you a little bit of my background. If you don't know me, you feel free to check that video. Also, you can find a biography of me on my newsletter website, which is appliedmetabolics.com. I'm here now in my second video for Generation Iron, and this video is in response to a request for questions from the viewers of Generation Iron. So I'm answering this first list of questions I got, and I'm looking at it right here. Basically, the first question is, what do I think of GW1516, also known as Endurobol or Candarine? This is an experimental drug. It's often confused as a SARM. It's sold online. It was developed by a major pharmaceutical company starting around 1992. Nearly all the studies that have been produced on this stuff have been with animals or lab rats, that kind of thing. It was actually developed by the drug company to treat conditions such as obesity, the metabolic syndrome, which is a precursor of cardiovascular disease, and diabetes, possibly. In other words, as you could probably surmise, this particular drug works through increasing what they call a metabolic oxidation effect, or basically increases the use of fatty acids as a source of energy, and it decreases the use of glycogen. So it spares glycogen and it increases fatty acids. So now the interesting thing, the really fascinating thing is, when they gave it to the rats, they noticed a tremendous effect on muscular endurance. The rats' endurance increased 60 to 70% when they gave them this particular drug. And again, it has to do with the fact that the rats were much more able to use fatty acids or fat, and also the drug seemed to be able to push glucose into the muscle more efficiently. So you could say that the energy stores in the rats were maximized when they used this particular drug, or I should say when they were given this particular drug. The thing to remember about this is that when they gave the drug to rats that didn't exercise, in other words, sedentary rats, the drug had no effect. So it basically works with exercise. And again, it's being sold as what they call a SARM, which stands for Selective Androgen Receptor Modulator. These are drugs that are not anabolic steroids, but they interact with the androgen receptor. They're being developed as a possible replacement for testosterone therapy, where you have a deficiency of testosterone. The advantage of SARMs is that although they interact with the androgen receptor, as does testosterone, they do not usually cause the major side effects associated with testosterone, such as overstimulation of the prostate gland. That really doesn't happen when you're on a proper course of testosterone therapy, but it's a possibility, not prostate cancer, but possibly benign growth of the prostate gland, benign hypertrophy of the prostate gland. This doesn't happen with SARMs, but the point is, GW11, I always forget the thing, it's GW1516, this particular drug is not a SARMs. It's not a SARMs. It's what it classified as, and you don't have to remember this, it's classified as an agonist of the peroxisome proliferator activated receptor delta. And what this means is it kind of regulates genes in muscle that control oxidative metabolism, or, for example, the burning of fat in muscle. So, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out the application to this to athletes and those engaged in exercise. It will increase fatigue. It will decrease fatigue when you're working out. It'll possibly increase muscular endurance, and most of all, theoretically, it could probably help you burn fat. There's rumors that some of the pro bodybuilders have used this drug when they're trying to gain size in order to minimize fat deposition. The usual standard recommendation for GW115, did I get that right? I'm sorry, GW1516. I'm bad with numbers. Let's just call it, for crying out loud, I'm going to call it Endurobol. That's the name of it, Endurobol. It's easy to remember. The dose used by some of the pro bodybuilders is said to be 30 milligrams. However, the standard dose range often given on these online sites that sell it is between 10 and 20 milligrams, with 20 milligrams being maximum. But again, this is not based on any science because there's very few human studies. Now, the big controversy with EmboSARM, why do I keep calling it EmboSARM? It's called Endurobol. The big controversy with this stuff is that the studies with rodents that were conducted by the drug companies found that they gave the rats various doses, from low doses to high doses. And no matter what dose they gave, the drugs seemed to cause the initiation of cancer in various organs, including the stomach, liver, and testicular cancer. Now, the thing is, the online sites that sell this point out that the dosages that were provided to the rats were much higher than any human would consume, which is true. That is true. It's also, they didn't point this out, but it's also important to note that rats and mice get cancer a lot easier than humans do. So, interestingly enough, the other studies have shown that in low dosages, this chemical or this substance actually seems to have a slight cancer preventive effect. So, it's kind of like something that you have to look at. I mean, it is a kind of an established carcinogen in high doses. And the problem that I see with this stuff is that everybody varies in their, let's say, tendency to get cancer. We're all born with these genes called oncogenes, which are growth-promoting genes. When they're in the right place on the cell, they promote normal cellular growth. However, through reasons that really aren't known, kind of a mutation effect, some of these oncogenes wind up on cells that they're not supposed to be at, and nothing happens unless they're exposed to a carcinogen. If these particular displaced oncogenes or cancer or growth-stimulating genes, if they're stimulated by a carcinogen, they can cause that the particular cell that they're associated with to turn into a tumor, becomes cancer. And again, the problem is that really no one could tell where these we all have them in our body, but nobody knows where these particular oncogenes are. Some of them could be in the lungs, some of it could be in the stomach, some of it could be in the pancreas, some of it could be, related to blood cancers like leukemia. So, my problem with this stuff is when you take a drug that has caused any type of cancer on any dose, even if it's a high dose, the fact is, what happens when you give it to people that have these oncogenes and are possibly through genetic mechanisms susceptible to cancer? This is the problem I see with this drug. In other words, it may not do anything, or in certain rare individuals, it could possibly initiate cancer. As far as I know, there's no record, I have to be clear, there's no record of this stuff actually causing human cancer. But it has caused cancer in a lot of lab rats. So, if you want to use this stuff, it's kind of a crapshoot as far as from a health point of view. The other thing that bothers me about this and the SARMs drugs that are being sold online is that most of the raw material for this stuff emanates from China, which has the worst record of quality control of any country on earth. So, in other words, you don't know if you're buying this stuff, you don't know if it's the real stuff. You don't know if the potency correct. I mean, you could be getting the real stuff where the potency doesn't match the label. So that's another problem I see, because you have to understand, this GW stuff was discontinued when by the major drug company that was developing it, because it caused these cancers in the lab animals, and the drug company didn't want to take the risk of litigation if they released it for human use and it caused cancer in humans. They'd be sued for millions. So they just basically stopped the research and discontinued it. But the formula got, a couple of people got a hold of the formula, and it's being sold online now. So that's something to consider about, the purpose of it mainly is to increase muscular endurance and increase fat oxidation. If you do get the real stuff, honestly, to be really honest, it probably will work. And it probably will work at a dosage of about 20 milligrams a day. So based on what I told you, if you want to try it, go ahead.
My cousin actually promotes for Blackstone Labs online through Instagram. They're a great company. They have fucking Aaron Clark, Dominic Cardone, PJ Braun.
Yeah, because those guys took those supplements and that made them look like that, right?
No fucking way. But that's the game, though. That's what it is.
That's the game. I know, but that's what I'm trying to say.
But they have all their shit is quality, though. If you're gonna get Osterin,
for people that are normal.